Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Another interesting story that I would like to share with you guys. Racism is one of the topics that has been, still is, and will continue to be talked about. Now in this video, a mixed race sister is seen in her video calling out all whites to be. Now this didn't sit well with one of the palm color guy or man. Now what happened is that this guy replies to this girl by stitching her video and telling her that her statement was unfair because she's categorizing and stereotyping a group of people. Now what happened afterwards was that people reported her video and it was taken down. Afterwards, the same guy makes another video again commenting on the sister's video of her complaining about her video being taken down. It's a lot of drama, guys. Let me just play this video so that you see for yourselves.
All white people are every single last one of them, all of them are racist. You uphold a system of racism by literally just being white.
It is 2023. 2023. I've been taking 3 different medications because I have 3 different illnesses. So sorry if I sound out of it, but back to what I was saying. This is one of those situations where you're fighting for a cause, you're speaking out about something, but your viewpoints get so extreme that you're now doing what you're fighting against. And do you know what I think? I think quarantine has to be the biggest factor of why we're seeing extreme viewpoints like this. You can't possibly fight racial injustice in this country and then immediately have your opening statement be categorizing and stereotyping a group of people based on the color of their skin. Your resentment toward far-right conservative white Americans does not give you the justification to group white people as a whole. It can't be all, right? I mean, it can't be the white South Americans, the white Central Americans, the white Africans, right? Because it doesn't make sense. It's not nice to call someone racist. We throw that word out to white people so much. It's like, really, it's really not nice. So that video was taken down, I think, or reported, and they had something to say about that.
So when I exercise my right to use my free speech as a child on an app for children, suddenly all these adults are up in arms reporting my videos. Do I not have a right to free speech just because it conflicts with yours? Your subjective ideas, I can't express my subjective ideas because you don't agree with them? It's free speech this, free speech that until it's somebody black, huh?
Let's cut the music real quick, right? You and I both know that you're smart enough and old enough to willingly post videos on TikTok about your opinions or whatever you want, right? So don't pull this, I'm a child, you're an adult, take a look at yourself, right? It doesn't work. Ignore the trolls, right? Nobody is saying that you don't have the freedom of speech to speak your opinions on social media. Because we both know that freedom of speech can come with consequences. And those consequences come with criticism, backlash, your videos taken down, and not to mention TikTok's report system is very shitty. And I know all this because for the past 2 years that I've been speaking in my opinions, I've been in the same situation as you. People mass report my videos, they don't think I should be able to have a voice, they report my account, they ban my account, they suspend my account. I've gone through all of it. But I'm not gonna sit here, grab my phone, make a video of myself alone in my bedroom and complain about how my freedom of speech is being taken away. It's the perk of being a small creator on TikTok.
Like always, such drama just has a way of making people talk. There were lots of comments from people and stitched videos, so let's take a look at some of the stitches to this video. See you right after these video clips.
Right. I mean, it can't be the white South Americans, the white Central Americans, the white...
This is such a great example of how racially illiterate white Americans are. The fact that you just brought up white Latinos and white Africans as an example with no context and no education, no knowledge about the history in those areas is exactly why we need to be talking about race. You're talking about white Africans. You mean the ones responsible for apartheid and colonization? The ones still exploiting children in that area for all of the resources for the technology gathered for your phone. You mean the white South and Central Americans that have constantly tried to erase Black and brown people historically through what's known as blanqueamiento, i.e. trying to breed melanin out of the population. This is why critical race theory is so important. Now, I know a lot of people of my complexion and your complexion like to get in their feelings whenever they hear the term, "all white people are racist." And I do agree that we should probably use something else because y'all are too quick to jump in your feelings. What it means is that you are operating as part of a larger structure of systemic white power and white supremacy, which has colonized every single continent on this fucking planet. And I bring this up to anybody that wants to make Latin America or Africa out to be shithole continents because they have wholeheartedly been colonized by white people. Economic collapse in these areas has wholeheartedly been at the hands of white people. Most of the political instability that has happened in Africa and Latin America is the result of white people butting their nose into business they did not belong in order to siphon resources out of an area without having to pay fairly for them. But back to the point that all white people are racist. You were born into a society that deemed you the good, the standard of beauty, the default, when you're none of those things. In fact, it only took how many centuries of white people running shit for our world to be on a path to mass extinction, when for thousands of years before that, there were no problems until white supremacy. There was no racism, there was no misogyny. In fact, most other cultures were matriarchal. But y'all will conveniently and consistently use your white privilege, use your ignorance and your lack of racial education due to white supremacists in this country, such as the Daughters of Liberty, that made sure that your history was whitewashed, to ignore the problem that is actually being talked about here. Your ability to ignore the disenfranchisement of the black population through mass incarceration and its firm and very evident roots in slavery. To ignore every single disparity affecting people of color in this country is your racism. And it is a default for white people. And you need to wake up and do better. Because living in a bubble of white ignorance is not it. Do better. Educate yourself. Read a history book. Have a day.
Call someone racist.
It's not nice to be racist. And it's not smart to ignore the mountains of evidence that even if someone doesn't espouse acutely hateful rhetoric, that they have tons of unconscious biases that are baked into them from larger social structures and their own place within them that require active acknowledgement and resistance in order for them to not affect other people in the community. And while it is helpful to point to white people in non-US contexts in order to have more nuanced conversations about race, ethnicity, and power, it's not wise to act like anti-blackness and colorism aren't global phenomenon with global repercussions.
It is 2023. 2023.
What does that mean? It's 2023. Like, I could go in all sorts of ways and reply to your video that have interested me and other people. I think several people have already stitched at black creators that I think have sort of like educated you more. But like, what does it mean when you start out with, it's 2023? Like, is that like some sort of sentiment of deep progress that we've arrived and yet you all are still talking about the isms or the problems of the world? Like, there's a lot I could read into. I admit to reading into that a good bit, because it's sort of like how you started it, and it's sort of like almost like a sort of sub-thesis or something. But like, I don't know, I'm just hopeful you would explain that. But yeah.
Your resentment toward far-right conservative white Americans.
The fact that you think that the problem is isolated to like far-right conservatives is a factor of the issue that she is trying to talk about. Black people do not owe you politeness. They do not owe you comfort. And when they say, you are fucking racist, you need to shut up and listen. Every single person raised in this society is going to have racial biases. This isn't solely a white person problem, but oh my god, is it way worse for white people. Because our privilege makes it very easy for us to ignore the issues that are going on around us. This strict adherence to politeness and to coddling people's feelings and to, well, it's not everyone, there's good ones. This is a tool of white supremacy. Our entire society is informed by racial bias. This is reflected in the media that we consume. It is reflected in what is taught in history and what is not taught, the way we talk about it. It is reflected in beauty standards. It is reflected in policing. It is reflected in the racial demographics of different areas that are affected by historical redlining. It is affected by years and years and years of laws that disenfranchise Black people and people of color in general. And if you think that you're not a racist, if you think that you don't have any racial bias, I can guarantee you that you do, and you just have not taken the time to examine yourself. These things are deeply, deeply ingrained in us from childhood. Being better than like alt-right conservatives does not mean that you're not racist. Black people in this country have experienced not just the current effects of racism, but the generational effects. There are people alive to this day who lived through the Jim Crow era, who lived through segregation. Telling a Black woman that she needs to be more polite when calling out racism is such a fucking microaggression. Like, oh my God. Black people get to be angry. They get to be blunt. They get to be rude. They have more than earned a simmering rage and vitriol towards white people. It is our job as white people to be good allies, to educate ourselves, and to fucking listen when a Black woman is telling you something that we do not have the privilege to pick up on our own. I understand that acknowledging your own racial biases and your own internalized racism is uncomfortable. It feels gross. It makes you feel like a bad person. But if you are not doing that work, you don't get to fucking tell Black people that they're being too rude. You don't get to tell Black people that anyway. Shut the fuck up and go read a history book. Jesus Christ. Actually, you're being the racist because you're hurting my feelings. I'm a good white. Ugh.
You just know that the comments will be something else. The first comment reads, "This is why racism will not end. It's people with this thinking that cause most harm than good to their cause. As always, well said, lady." Okay, the last part wasn't necessary. It was sarcastic. "The fact that she calls me racist simply because of my skin color or race is in fact by definition racism. I look white but mixed with other ethnicities. She would judge me based on my skin tone. That's interesting. Stop the cycle. Do better. Be good humans to each other. Put down the pitchforks. So much hate. It's too much." This one says, "My message will be most likely not even noticed. Why can't we all get along? We are all humans. Stop the hate. We have one life. Live and love." From a Black man's point of view, I've experienced racism. I wouldn't say all white people are racist. Left or right, racism affects us all. I honestly thought she was half white. Okay, now listen to this one. "The sooner we realize we are all just racist, the sooner we will get along. I think the issue is that racist is both used as a serious critic and as an insult, and people on the receiving end tend to feel it's the latter. Just like there is two sides to a coin, so is this video." So now, what happened is that people shifted the blame from what that girl said to what the white guy said. Let's look at some of the comments from the people who thought the white guy was wrong. Okay, a lady stitched his video and this is what she said. "Nobody's trying to be nice here, and that part of your problem, and that's part of your problem. Your problem is that you try to nice your way out of talking about racism or having productive conversations and opinions when it comes to racism. You need to get your ego out this work." Now, this lady was not the only one who had something to say. Surprisingly, there were also white people who were against what the white guy said. This is what this other one said. "Maybe it's because lots of white people insist. What if I say there is a system in place called supremacy that feeds the idea of white superiority and that it affects everyone? I would say everyone is racist, but not everyone goes that far because maybe it hurts their feelings a little bit." Okay. Now this one says, "What that young lady said in her video is accurate. White people are inherently racist because racism is inherent to anyone who has been born and raised in a place touched by colonialism. And that just is what it is. This does not mean you cannot change. It's just a lot to take in, guys. It's just a lot. Like, what do you think about this video? Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, because I would really love to hear from you guys what you think about this video and the drama between the two sides. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in my next video.